One energy, I'll try. A catalyst calling. Light when the world is passing. My remedy, I'll fly. Won't let me go falling. Die when this life's ahead of me. I stay too long just to melt into a silent wave. Don't forget me when I'm gone. Oh, well, it lives in our chemistry. You ain't got a hold on me. It lives in our chemistry. Oh, it lives in our chemistry. We ain't gonna let this be. It lives in our chemistry. It lives in our chemistry. Oh, well, it lives in our chemistry. Oh, well, it lives in our chemistry. Oh, well, it lives in our chemistry. Oh, well. Caught in a cage, forsaken and fractioned. Blood through my veins runs deep in reaction. Inside this fire blazes through the pouring rain. Ignite this time, burning skies won't be in vain. From the ash my heart will rise. Heart will rise. From the truth my soul can hide. Soul can hide. It lives in my chemistry. You ain't got a hold on me. It life's ahead of me. I stay too long just to melt into a silent wave. Don't forget me when I'm gone. It lives in our chemistry. You ain't got a hold on me. It lives in our chemistry. Oh, it lives in our chemistry. We ain't gonna let this be. It lives in our chemistry. It lives in our chemistry. Oh, well, it lives in our chemistry. Oh.
And it looks like we're good to go. Yeah! Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Claire. We are here. It's another Monday, so it means it's another tips and tricks. And today I have a very special guest. It is the one, the only, TAETRO.
It's me. Hi.
Thank you so much for coming today, Nick. It's really great to have you on the show.
I'm stoked to be here on the show. I'm stoked to be on a show that I don't have to host.
Cool. We were just having this conversation earlier, everyone. And also hi to everyone who's in the YouTube chat. Thank you all for tuning in. It's great to see all of you. But yeah, I guess this maybe is a little different for you, Nick, since you did mention that you usually host most of the shows. But I'm super excited to have you today, and we can chat a lot about performances and productions, which is why I wanted to have you on, especially because you just finished Beattober, which is
Indeed.
a movement that you led on Instagram. A movement. I've been calling it a movement. I think it totally is. And yeah,
I was feeling that way too.
Yeah, maybe that can be where we start off. Like if you want to tell us a bit about Beattober.
Yeah, it's weird. Like last year, this is like my second year doing Beattober, but like the first year doing it in like a real way. Because I did it last year, and I kind of just woke up on October 1st last year and said, am I going to do this? And then I just ended up doing it. And it was like a very different experience. I didn't I encouraged other people to join, but I didn't make like a big splash about it or anything. And it was just like inspired by like Inktober, which is like for artists who like sketch and draw once a day, like a sketch every day in October, same concept, but making a beat video every day. And this year I was like, it'd be a good idea to get the community involved and get everybody doing stuff, especially now we're all trapped at home and we're all like hanging out, kind of sharing content. And I was very surprised. I didn't know how it was going to be. I thought like maybe like 10 people do it or something, like maybe a few people in the community, but it grew like far beyond my expectations. And that was the coolest thing. So I think your definition of calling it a movement, I think that is a cool way to think about it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally. We'll be talking a bit more about that later, but maybe let's just do a quick backstep and intro ourselves in case anyone's tuning in for the first time, because I see a couple of new people in the chat, as well as on a little bit of Instagram stuff as well. But thank you everyone for tuning in.
Cool.
We're at the 343 Labs YouTube channel. 343 Labs is a school based in Manhattan and Berlin. We do a lot of electronic music production. A couple of familiar names in the chat. Hi to Samuel, Andrew, Nikun, Cello, Jonathan. Nice to see you again. We also got TAETRO in the chat. TWD is here too. What is this? A crossover episode? You bet it is. It is indeed.
Yes.
Crossover episode of I guess all three platforms in a way. We got the TAETRO stuff, we got the 343 Lab stuff, we got the dolltr stuff, so it's kind of like a giant mesh.
Like a mega droid.
Totally. Ooh, Tyra, hi, Rio as well. Greetings to all of you. Thank you all for being here. But yeah, I'm Claire. I'm an instructor at 343 Labs. I mostly go by Claire unless I'm doing my artist project, which is dolltr, and that's how some of y'all know me too. But TAETRO here is an amazing musician, producer, content creator, educator, creative director of 343 Labs.
Oh, you're too kind, too kind.
No, all of these things, right? And I mean, this is something that I also like to chat about later on today. I have a couple of things, but just the idea of doing so many things and being like an all-rounder, like how that actually plays out. But you're an excellent example of that, TAETRO, and it's so wonderful to be able to work with you. And also, I mean, speaking of Beattober, like our collab, that was like major highlight for me. So thank you for letting me do that with you.
And it was amazing that it happened to be like the last, like it was a perfect like ending to the month. I think like that was like a highlight for me. Like to close it out that way, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, cool. We had a few other people also. Yanshik, hello. Joseph,
That's
which
my
one?
mom, by the way.
Oh my gosh, hi.
And then Joseph is my best friend that I live with. He's right in the other room.
Hi.
So-
Oh, that's so cool. Hi, welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. Which one is Ninja Turtles and which one's Power Rangers? I don't know. Which one would you prefer?
I feel more like a Power Ranger.
Cool. I'll do turtle. I mean, I like doing the awkward turtle like hand sign.
Oh,
There's
okay.
always the
Perfect. That's a throwback. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's like something that's weirdly enough ingrained in me. I still do this nowadays, especially with my kids. They think it's very cute. So
You have a lot of awkward moments.
Yeah,
Is that why?
totally. So we all just like look at each other. Like if push doesn't work, where it's like, ugh. It's like little awkward turtles. But yeah. So hi, yeah, nice to meet you, TAETRO's mom. I'm not
Yikes.
sure. It's funny. I don't think my dad would ever. My dad and mom sometimes watch as well, but for them at the moment, I think it's 2 a.m. because they're in Singapore.
Oh shoot.
So maybe
Wow.
they'll watch the replay after. But we'll see. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. How's it going?
Hi in the future, Claire's mom and dad.
Cool. But yeah, maybe let's just get started off by like, doing a little bit of a take now that we've like introduced ourselves, moving forward again and speaking a bit more about Beattober. So maybe if you could maybe walk us through a little bit of what your process was like every day of the month, especially this year as opposed to last year, since you mentioned it was a little different in terms of
Yes.
your approach.
Yeah, the approach was totally different this year. Because I was able to like prepare, because it wasn't something that this year that I just woke up and said, "Oh, I guess I'll do this." I planned for it and I was like ready.
Right.
So this last year I was every single day waking up, making a beat and shooting a video and posting the video. Like that all happened all on one day last year. And I did not think that would be sustainable this year. For a lot of reasons. So in preparing for this year, I made sure that I was always one day ahead.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I would always have tomorrow's beat done the day before. And there was a little bit of like, I won't say like cheating, but like a little bit of like free passes, because ahead of the month I had actually planned a couple beat videos that I didn't end up releasing then. And I kept a couple held back for Beattober. So if push came to shove, I could like release a video and actually not have to work on the video the day before. So like there's a couple mulligans there, but for the most part, it was creating the beat, shooting the video for the next day, not doing it all in one day. And I found that to be a lot more sustainable, because it's like it's a weird spot to be in, because it's not only like make a track, but it's also shoot a video that looks good, and those are two like pretty intensive, like brain intensive tasks and time intensive tasks. So it was tough to balance, but this system of like doing it the day before made it much, much more manageable.
Yeah, totally. And I'm so glad that you're actually sharing that, because I think one thing that both of us know this because we do a lot of content stuff, but for a lot of people who don't, they just see something and they're like, wow, this is a really great piece of content, like a great video or a great photo or whatever, a written piece, whatever that might be. But we make it seem a lot easier than it actually is. And I've learned that so much from you too. And thank you for all your help about all the lighting stuff. TAETRO has been helping me so much with video stuff, everyone. So big ups for Mr.
Well,
TAETRO.
I struggled like with that stuff. Like video was always like a mystery, and to the point where like I avoided like getting good at video for a very long time.
Right.
Like started my channel using an Android phone because I didn't want to get a real camera. I was editing on my iPad because I didn't want to learn like a real editing software. I avoided it for so long, but like once I started uncovering like the mysteries behind it and really learning it, like it takes things to a whole nother level, and I actually quite enjoy it now.
Yeah, totally. And I think like that's it. Interestingly enough, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I feel like I'm kind of in maybe a similar position right now. Not so much maybe that I'm purposefully putting it off, but to be very frank, like sometimes I don't always have the resources to do it. That's why I'm really grateful that now I kind of am able to, especially with a lot of the work that I'm doing now that's more public facing and helping a lot of, different companies develop content as well. So it's no longer just like an individual Claire thing. It's more of like for the greater good of everybody that I'm working with, gotta like up the game, which is maybe something that we should, speak a little bit more about too, as far as the work that you're doing. You work with so many different kinds of brands and companies. How's that been going lately for you, especially with your move to LA?
Yeah, well, I actually moved to LA because I thought I planned to move to LA before like COVID like really hit. And the thought process there was like, I'll be a lot closer to a lot of the industry and I'll be a lot closer to a lot of the brands. So collaboration will be easy. And then COVID hit and it literally doesn't matter where you are anymore. Like you could be anywhere. But also that gave me a lot of opportunities too, because since I had already invested in a lot of like production gear, like to make content, once brands suddenly needed to get content remotely and they weren't doing like on location shoots and stuff, opportunity kind of like sprung out of that. And they're like, oh, we need videos, we need a stream, we need this. And it really like helped me survive. So that's why I like to go back to like the idea of like avoiding film and production, that side of things. I'm so glad that I did go the full route and like learn to do it right and do it well, because it actually has like kept me on my feet, like it's been a good thing to fall back on. So like, not like I'm always a musician, like the center of what I do is like being a musician and like a music producer. But how do I represent that? And like, how do I put that out into the world? Well, I had to like kind of learn a lot about this music production stuff or film production stuff. And that has given me a lot of opportunities. Whereas if I had just focused on music production, I don't know if I would have so many opportunities.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point to think about. And in a way, I almost think it's a little bit of like a macrocosm of maybe the microcosm itself of what we're doing right now as like producers. Like we're no longer just like artist or producer or engineer like separately. A lot of people nowadays are just like everything at once, which is a very new sort of model too, right? I don't think we would have, not super new, but I think the chances of you finding someone who was so, skilled across the board were definitely a lot lower when we weren't able to, have access to a lot of things, say, decade or two ago even. So things have changed so much now. And actually this maybe relates to one question that popped up in the chat already. Jonathan was asking, or commenting rather, oh yes, I have no video skills, plus not very camera confident, which maybe also relates to something we were discussing right before the stream. But yeah, he was wondering any tips, maybe especially if you're just like starting off getting into the video production stuff.
Yeah, just like with anything, like with music and with making videos, if you're just starting, you have to embrace the fact that if you're just starting, like you're going to make your first video, you're going to make your first track, whatever it is, embrace the fact that you're about to make the worst thing that you will ever make. And to get better, to move forward, to move past that, you have to make that thing. Like you have to be bad at it to get good at it. So like when you sit in front of the camera and it feels awkward and it feels weird, live in that, sit in that, and then like actually make something and finish something. And no, it's not going to be perfect. No, it's not going to be great. It's going to be the best you can at the time, but it's actually going to be the worst thing you ever make, because the next time you sit down to make a video, it's going to be better than that first one. And if you like zoom out on that timeline, like if you keep up with that progression and you go from making 1 to 2 videos, then you go from making 10 to 20 videos, imagine like how much better video 20 is going to be and feel than video 1. But you only get there by starting, like doing video 1, like you just have to start doing it. And yes, it feels awkward, and no, there's nothing wrong with that. But you build up that comfort over time, and you see yourself, like you can give yourself like honest feedback. Like once you shoot a video and you felt awkward and you watch it and it looks awkward, like be a little bit analytical about it and be like, oh, like why am I talking like this? Or like, why is the camera set up this way? Let me fix that. And you make incremental improvements like that. And that's how you get just better at everything.
Yeah, totally. I think like honestly, a lot of the idea of practicing and being consistent about it kind of spans like most skills that we learn, right? I think like
for sure,
like audio production is definitely something too. I was having this conversation with one of my students, and they were saying like, how do I become a producer? And I said, produce.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they probably hated me for that answer, but that's kind of how, right? It's like you work on something and you be consistent about it. And, if something makes you fall down, you kind of try to pick yourself up again as best as you can. Like watch all the cringeworthy videos. And I remember this especially about when I started doing like live electronic performance specifically. I looked so awkward. And it was like
so
strange.
Totally.
But it's kind of like biting that bullet and forcing yourself to watch a video. We were just talking about this again too, but like looking back at super old stuff.
I was gonna say, go to any like YouTuber that whoever in the audience like looks up to, and instead of sorting their videos by like latest, go back and look at their oldest videos. And some of us like, get rid of some old videos, but I have some real old videos from when the channel, the first tutorial I ever did is definitely still up on the channel, and there's a lot of really old stuff up there.
Nice.
Go sort my channel backwards and you will see such a difference in like the way I present myself, the way I talk, the quality of the video, the like janky shots I was using, like shooting with my phone. But like if I hadn't made those videos, I wouldn't have like the channel and the online presence, and like I wouldn't have developed the skills that I have now. But I had to do that first. And it's about expectations, right? Like whether it's music production, whether it's video production, like you don't compare yourself right away to like, the biggest names, the biggest producers, the producer you aspire to be, the video creator you aspire to be. You can't compare yourself to them when you first start. That's an unrealistic expectation, but you can aspire to that. But just don't like compare yourself directly, or that's like self-defeating.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great point. And actually, now that you mentioned that, it kind of makes me think a little bit also about something that I've been trying to do consciously this time in my second life of my YouTube channel, especially. So for those who maybe haven't heard this before, I do have like an older YouTube channel. You can find old videos of me doing stuff on YouTube from like 8 or 9 years ago.
Let's find it. What's the name?
It's actually just my real name. So that's kind of why I don't use that partially, but I mean like dolltr is my new artist thing, because I try now to separate everything. I feel like I'm at a point as I started moving on in my life, I wanted to do just so many things, and for me it made more sense to keep dolltr as like an artist thing and Claire for my professional stuff. Like when people hire me to be their playback engineer, they're not hiring dolltr, they're hiring Claire.
Sure.
So for me, just even coming to this in like a second YouTube channel type of life, what I've been trying to do this time is not just look for people that I aspire to, but also people who are currently kind of around the same level as me. So kind of like using them as maybe barometer is the wrong word, but like just checking in on how they're doing, and also kind of making friends with them, being able to like say hi and like watch their videos and support them as well. That's also something that I think is very cool about YouTube. You can definitely build a community that's very similar to maybe other kind of social media platforms too, even though YouTube is like, definitely video focused. And we were just talking about this, like the use of the community tab now, and you just shared with me about how they now have stories on YouTube.
Yes.
Which is kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that idea of like, using this really as a community builder and not just like trying to have excellent video production. I think that's also partially what made my first YouTube channel kind of whittle down a little bit as well. I mean, of course, life was a thing. I did stop it when I started going into college. So that was one of the factors that contributed to its decline, but it's still up there. And I kind of use it almost as a reminder for like, okay, this is what we're going to do the second time round that's going to be different.
Yeah, and then content, like aside from that, like I think you're right about like the quality, like, but doesn't have to be the main focus, because I've seen lots of videos or like channels with like amazing quality, like super professional quality with like very low subscribers, very low engagement, because that community aspect, like engaging with your audience, is like a bit more important than that. Like even if like I actually don't watch a lot of music production YouTube. Like I watch a bit, but I'm not super like, that's not what I consume for like fun or anything. Like I consume a lot of like regular YouTube, like vlogs and stuff. And if you watch a lot of like the really big vloggers, like 4 million, I'm not talking about the Casey Neistats, but like some like younger, but like Casey Neistat has really great production, like value, like that's his whole thing. But at a certain level, there's like some folks like walking around with their phones with like really like quote unquote low quality, but huge communities and huge audiences. And that just teaches you like, it doesn't matter that I'm shooting on a GH5 right now. Like I could just pull out my iPhone, and if the content is engaging, the content is engaging, So like that's an important aspect to focus on too. And folks shouldn't get caught up on, oh, I have to have a great camera, I have to have a great whatever. Like do what you can with what you have, and worry about connecting first before you worry about the technology.
Yeah, totally. And I was actually having this conversation with a number of people some time ago, just to kind of gauge their interest. But I was talking to, for example, like my normal friends who aren't producers or aren't like professionally musicians.
The normal people.
Yeah, like the normal people. No, seriously. And we joke about it, but like the normal people. And also like my partner, because my partner does a lot of like they know music and they've been involved in production, but they're not like super focused on it right now. So my question was always like, even if like if you're just watching normal YouTube, like what makes you want to subscribe to a channel? And I think that was something that was important for me to really nail down and find out from the normal people in my life and not like another music producer. Because I think that's like really what we do when we make a broader sort of generalization about what makes a video successful. It's that connection, like you mentioned.
Sure.
And I think that's something I admire about you so much, because you're so good at that, not just on YouTube, but like everywhere. And I'm not just saying that. We were also talking about this before, but like you're so active everywhere, Nick. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know. I'm constantly getting better at it. And I'm also constantly like at war with it in my head, you know, like it's such a tightrope to walk, is like posting on every platform and like what to post on every platform. Like the same picture on Instagram doesn't work on Twitter. And not just like a matter of like optimizing like for the platforms, but a matter of like, what are people doing on all these platforms and how do I connect on each platform individually? I can't just make the video for YouTube and then take that YouTube video and put it on Twitter and put it on Instagram, put it on whatever, because that's not how people connect with each different app, you know? And then what I'm trying to get better at is being less of like the, hi, let me talk to the camera and tell you how to do this music production thing. I'm trying to get a little bit more like personable and like let a little bit more of my personality through, and you know, interests other than music through, which is kind of why like I put different things on my shelves after Halloween. Like I put like a book on my shelf, put some more action figures and stuff, because there's more to us as artists than just what we make. And that kind of goes back to like what you're saying about like normal friends and normal people. It's so worthwhile to find out like what non-artist people are interested in and what makes them subscribe or what makes them engage with something, because we judge so much on like a person's work, because we're artists, we make work, so we judge ourselves on our work, and then we look at other people's work, and of course we judge their work, not like in a judgmental way, but like in a like, oh, they're a great artist, let me subscribe to them. Other people who are not artists, who do not have that focus on like creating stuff, connect for a lot of different reasons. And I always want to hold on to that. I don't ever want to fall into the trap of like only basing it on people's work. You know, we follow people because we enjoy their, not company, but because we connect with them somehow, even if it's like virtually and it's not a back and forth. But, you know, that's why we like the TV shows we like. That's why we like watching the movies we like with certain actors that we like. You know, it's that whole thing. It's all the same.
Yeah, totally. And I think like it's funny that you mentioned the TV situation, because I totally feel like that's maybe what my grandma feels about a lot of like TV series. Like she thinks the people in there are her family. It's like
absolutely.
My grandparents just like love watching. They watch a lot of like serial dramas, especially a lot of like Korean dramas as well. So they're always like, yeah, the people in the show, and I'm like, they're not actually our family, but you know them. You seem to know them. So okay.
I'm watching Startup right now, and I do feel like Namto-san is my family and Dalmi is my family.
That's good. I'm happy for your family.
Yeah.
Well, we also did actually get a reminder in the chat. Thank you, Thomas, for being here and for telling us about this week's giveaway. We're very excited that this week's giveaway, as you know, everyone, we have weekly giveaways. This week's giveaway is a $200 voucher from the wonderful people at Ableton. And as you know, our Monday show, which is this show that we're currently on, is related to a lot of Ableton Live tips and tricks. So usually when I'm not having guests, I always talk a little bit about some Ableton Live or Push related things. So there will be more of that next week, but for today we have a very special guest, TAETRO over here. But don't forget to enter the giveaway. TAETRO, would you like to remind people to enter the giveaway?
Yes, enter the giveaway. Use the link in the chat, because $200 Ableton voucher can get you a fair amount. They have like sound packs up on their site and stuff besides like just the DAW. So even if you're already a DAW user, I think this voucher should apply for you to be able to use for like different sound packs and cool stuff like that. So just enter. Why not? You're here.
Totally. Well, one thing now that we're talking about like web shop stuff, one thing I wish that Ableton, the company, had a bit more of was maybe some more variations of merch. But you know what? Who has good merch? Who has good merch? TAETRO has good merch. Nick, do you want to tell us a bit about Control Freak Club?
Yeah, I don't know. It's this weird thing. I struggle with like merch, and I wanted to with Control Freak Club. So for folks who don't know, like I always had like normal artist merch, and you know, you take pictures, cool pictures of like keyboards and stuff. Like I try to capture like what is the essence of my channel, put in some art, hire some artists, or like I've had great community artists, like folks that just came out of the woodwork and made art and like wanted me to use it. and that's really awesome too. And I've always just thrown stuff on t-shirts and stuff like that. But recently, at the beginning of October, because I launched Control Freak Club kind of with Beattober, I decided to launch something a little different than just merch. Like I wanted to separate it from my name. So I called it Control Freak Club because I think about like all the, like my thing is like MIDI controllers, I guess. Like that kind of became my thing. I didn't ask for this, but regardless, it is. And I thought that Control Freak Club kind of rolled off the tongue, and I wanted to make designs. I wanted to step up the game for design. So I hired some artists that I really, really liked to design like 3 distinct designs. And I wanted to make it more like streetwear almost, like so I can do different drops at different times of the year. And it's detached from my artist name. So you don't even have to necessarily be a fan of me as an artist. But if you're a control freak like me and you just like gear and stuff like that, I feel like that appeals to a broader audience. So like, that's my kind of thinking with that. It's part of my world domination plan, you know. I'm still working on it though.
No, it's definitely coming into play. And thank you also for sending the wonderful merch over. I really appreciate it. You can see it in our Beattober video, everyone.
Yes, go check out our Beattober video.
Totally. Oh, that was so fun. Actually, maybe we can spend a minute or two just chatting about that. But
Totally.
yeah, so we did. So for Beattober, for anyone who just tuned in, Beattober is something you can check out on TAETRO's Instagram, which is, I believe your handle is just TAETRO, I think.
And dolltr's Instagram.
Yeah, the both of us put it up at around the same time, but that final hurrah for Beattober was a collaboration between the two of us. We did Blooming by IU, who I think is one of your current favorite artists. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
it's true. Like the long story short is my best friend is super into K-pop and K-dramas, and he's learning Korean and he wants to move to Korea. But he got me into like K-pop, and you know, aside from being super into like Blackpink, he got me into IU, and IU is just like great because I really love bands like the 1975, and I also just like general pop music, and somehow like IU like captures like all those things that I like, and she's a really great artist. So when we were talking about collaborating, I think you pitched the idea of like, let's do a K-pop song. And I immediately went to that song Blooming by IU because it's got awesome guitar in it. I was like, that's great, I can play guitar, and you can cover all the like vocal stuff and synths and whatever. And I think it was a great fit. I love that song.
yeah, that song was great. And honestly, I think maybe someone also mentioned this in one of the comments or something. I can't remember because I don't really read comments. Sorry, everyone. But I think
You're
someone
better off.
No, it's just like it's one of my social media things. We've talked about this too, but
Yeah.
it's like, but yeah. Long story short, I think they were saying how they were also really surprised that you played guitar too. But I'm
That's-
so glad that
yeah.
you showed it. That was awesome.
That is like, I won't say frustrating, but it's telling of like how social media and YouTube and all this stuff works. Because I have done covers on my channel before with guitar, like like I've played lots of guitar before, and it never fails to amaze me. Like if I do something, but I don't do it that often. Like people see me with a keyboard all the time, so obviously they associate me with that. But like I could put out a piece of content tomorrow, and maybe a year from now, like I'll put out a similar piece of content. People be like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." I'd be like, "Well, I did it a year ago." So like bounce off that. It's like a controller that we both use, the Sensormorph.
Yeah.
Like I've done a bunch of videos with the Sensormorph. Every time I do a video, people are like, "What's that? I've never seen it before. Like, what is this?" So like, I don't know. That's just like very telling about social media, about like and doing content, because I think we get caught up in like not repeating stuff. Like I don't want to be boring. I don't want to be redundant, but like here I am playing guitar. I've played guitar since I was 14, put out lots of videos like playing guitar, and people are seeing me play guitar for the first time in October of 2020. So
Yeah.
it's weird.
Totally. I think it's also interesting how, like, for a lot of, maybe this is, maybe I am overgeneralizing with this, but a lot of people who see, like, producers, especially who use a lot of, like, gear stuff, the moment you pull out a real instrument, it's like, oh, what a pleasant surprise. So,
Yeah,
like,
and they're like impressed too. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, and I don't know, for me, I always, maybe that's also part of the reason why generally when I introduce myself, I usually tell people that I'm a musician and not just like
Yeah.
a producer, you know? And this also relates to what we just talked about at the beginning, like how everyone just wears so many hats now. Like we all have like
Yes.
50 hats that are just like stacked up one on top of the other. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know if there's maybe anything that can be done about that. I think maybe it's just how much
No.
how much people choose to engage with you. Like, you know, they watch a video and
The
then
real ones, no. Yeah, exactly.
the real ones, no. the OGs, or not even the OGs, but like the real folks. But also, ooh, it looks like we have more people in the chat. Max,
Oh,
hello,
boy.
Greetings. Max is our wonderful co-founder who is
Max
currently in
Wild.
Berlin. Thank you for staying a little later. I think it's seven-ish right now. But yay, hi Max. Hi also to Melinda who just popped in. We've got. Who else do we have? Yeah, we have Regine. Hi, Regine. How's it going too? So great to see you all, everyone. This is kind of like our 343 party at the moment, I guess.
Yeah.
We've got like all the folks in. Who else did someone just tag Abe? No, Abe's not here, right? Abe, if you're here, let us know. But
Hello, Abe.
If you're not, then I guess you won't let us know. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, we are here with TAETRO. Everyone.
Here we are.
Did you want to say something, Nick? Sorry, I'm not sure if I cut you
No,
off.
I was wondering like maybe we should like talk about the collaboration process, like how we even made that happen, even though it was like a little bit of a down to the wire kind of last minute, like not last minute, like we had talked about it like weeks in advance, but when it came time to like actually do
Yeah.
the thing, it like became like a, okay, let's do it day
Totally.
of or day before.
Absolutely. And I think this is just like also maybe it speaks to both like the power of being everywhere at once, but also like the detriments of being everywhere at once. Like because
Yeah.
at least for us, I think when we first wanted to do it, we may have talked about it like on Instagram or something, and then we shifted
Yeah.
to like all of these other places. But yeah, so we decided on the song, like you mentioned, which was Blooming. And again, I like IU a lot too. I actually got into her more ballady stuff, and when she first debuted, I think in
Like the super dramatic, like Broadway-esque kind of stuff.
yeah, like the ballad stuff. There was a beautiful one that she released, I think, right just about almost 10 years, I think about 10 years ago, but it's called Missing Child, which is Mia in Korean, and Mia, which means missing child. And it's this beautiful ballad, super cinematic, almost sounds a little bit like it
Yeah.
could be in a film or something. So I got into her back then. But then the comparison that you just made about like the 1975, I definitely get that vibe from her more recent work. And I love
Yes.
that too. So yeah, I was super happy to do the tune.
Can we
and-
talk about K-pop for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Not, I don't want to go off on a K-pop diatribe. I
yeah.
just want to like the mindset that I'm in, like as I get more and more into K-pop, and like for folks like in this chat, like I would imagine like not many folks in this chat are probably into K-pop. Like I don't know that many people that are into K-pop and like Korean artists in general. But what was mind blowing for me and like is super inspiring is that like up until like a few months ago, there's this music that I had never heard, these artists that I've never heard of, that I now love, but that have millions and millions, like have a giant audience, like a gigantic audience. And up until a few months ago, I had never heard of them.
When did
So,
you
like,
actually get into them? Sorry to cut you off, but like when's the
fine.
month? Yeah.
When's the month? It
Yeah.
was like, had to be like June or something.
Oof.
Or like maybe like a little bit earlier than that. Like whenever my best friend Joe came here, like I always knew he was into K-pop. He would show me stuff. I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. And then when he like finally got here, it must have been like July, and he really like just set me on a path. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And like obviously there's this whole culture around it of like how fans like interact with like K-pop idols and kind of like content surrounding it. But my point is like not specifically about K-pop. My point is kind of like about being like a musician and being an artist in the world. Like you can have millions and millions of fans and there can still be people that have never heard of you. So like whether you're like looking for new music, like as a listener, like there's stuff out there that you've never heard of that you could actually potentially really love. So keep looking for it. And then as an artist, like if you've got like 100 fans, that's great, but there could be potentially like thousands more like waiting to like get into what you do. I don't know. That's the mind-blowing thing about K-pop. It was just like, I've never heard of any of this, and all these millions and millions of people, like this is their lives. Like they love this stuff. So I don't know. It's just inspiring. Like I can't describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just we'll actually, I think it is worth spending some time chatting about. So I'm glad that we're talking about it now. But yeah, and I think I remember when I first started getting and listening a lot to it. I was really struck by I totally lost my train of thought. I had just like a giant brain fart. Was I gonna speak about
K-pop and inspiration and being artists and
yeah,
millions
wait,
of
what
fans.
was I thinking about?
I don't know. I'm trying to inspire the thought again.
Thank you. I really. Oh my God, this is like one of the biggest like brain farts I've had on like a live stream.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it back too.
Well,
I was speaking
yeah.
about audiences and yes, thank you. Okay, cool. But yeah, when I first got into it,
You thanked yourself.
Yeah, no. Someone made a comment about how actually a lot of K-pop is truly a lifestyle. A lot of people
Yes.
like live and breathe it in a very intense way, like you mentioned. It is their lives, and I won't go too much into detail on air because I have a little bit of my own story with the Korean industry as well. And we've briefly alluded to, spoken on our own, like outside of this. But yeah, I was in Korea for a while and doing some things there. And yeah, I think it's such an interesting industry. And in some ways, I'm glad that I'm no longer in it as deeply as I once potentially might have been. But there's so much wonderful music that comes out of really great teams there. So I think something that's pretty different,
Yeah.
at least for people who are just getting into the K-pop scene, or maybe aren't super familiar with it. A lot of things really is very team-based over there, so you might not have someone who's like producing or writing everything on their own, but you'll have a group of writers, or you'll have a group of producers, and in
Very
some ways-
collaborative.
yeah, totally. In some ways, that also does mirror a little bit about what we see on the Western side of the world. But yeah, definitely a lot of collaboration. At this stage, there's like a lot of K-pop writing camps, some of which I've participated in as well, that have been very intense. So like you'll go to a camp and you'll spend a week living with people and you'll make music that's meant for K-pop, which has been fun, but also very intense. But yeah, lots of a really interesting different approach that I would highly encourage people to look into a little bit more if you're interested. I also saw a couple of people. Max says it's past his bedtime. Oh, no. Yeah, teachers here. Ooh, Diego, Big Bang, absolutely. I was a big fan of Big Bang. I still am in some ways, except maybe not less of a fan of some members. Ooh, well, won't go too much into that.
Oof.
Regine, K-pop is manufactured illusion. Sorry, not a fan. That's okay.
I want
That's
to respond.
Yeah, I
wanna
would like to respond
that.
to. I'll let you go first, TAETRO. So Nick, take it away.
Here's the thing that I learned about K-pop. And like this, there's this whole trainee system. And I also find this inspiring. It's a little bit like jarring, like, cause it's so culturally different. But for folks who don't know, like for a lot of these groups, there is like this trainee like system. So it's a lot like when you're like 12, you have the opportunity to like audition and basically go to a conservatory. Like instead of going to like normal school where you learn English, history, math, science, whatever, you can audition and get into this school, essentially conservatory, where you basically now dedicate your life to the arts, and you go to an art school from age 12 to, however old, with the hopes and dreams of becoming an artist and becoming a musician, and the goal of like really perfecting your craft, dance, music, learning other languages so you can be like cross-cultural, all those things. And I think that, like, as crazy as that sounds, and as not crazy, but like as different as that sounds from our current culture here in the States, something about that is inspiring. Like, you can at a young age decide you're super passionate about something and throw yourself into like this conservatory system, and dedicate yourself to the arts. Because I think about like myself as a young person, like I always knew I wanted to be a musician, always knew I wanted to make music, and had to wait really until college to dedicate myself to that. And even in college, I went to like a liberal arts college, so I was a music major, but like I had to learn other things. So I am inspired by that trainee system because it takes folks who have a goal, who have aspirations, and it really hones that and focuses that. And like, I just respond to that comment saying like it's a manufactured illusion. You should watch some documentaries, because some of these performers and singers and writers and musicians and producers are some of the most talented like in the world because of that dedication, because of that system. So I hear you about the manufactured thing, but like the US like music industry is also like a quote unquote manufactured thing. Goes back to what you were saying about teams and writers and producers, but that does not mean that these folks are not hardworking musicians and producers and stuff. They're very hardworking.
Yeah,
very
totally.
dedicated.
And I think just to add on to that, and maybe this also speaks to another comment that was very interesting too, about how it is so interesting that people are so drawn to K-pop even if they don't understand the lyrics. And I'm just like bringing this back also because it reminds me of a comment that Bong Joon-ho, who's the wonderful director of Parasite, which, have you seen Parasite already? Or
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool. Just checking. Some people still haven't, and then they won't understand what I'm talking about. But at one of the award speeches that he gave, he said a variation of this. So I apologize for butchering it because I think I'm totally misquoting him, or not totally, but to some degree, paraphrasing. Yeah, definitely. There's so much that you can gain if you, as a person, are able to get over that wall of subtitles, and be able to, you know, go past that. And I think that's what, at least for me, initially drew me to it. I didn't know Korean off the bat, definitely. I do know it now, which is how we were able to execute Blooming.
Yes.
But for a number of reasons related to that. But yeah, I think there's still so much that you can take away, even if you're not a fan of, even if you don't understand the language, or even if you don't like the visual presentation, or even if you like the visual stuff but you don't like the sonics of it. There's something that I feel a lot of people can take away if you just open your mind to it. I think that's, and maybe that even speaks to music in general, like just letting your guard really down does. and not necessarily letting your guard down, but really just opening your mind and opening up the possibilities that can happen. I mean, if I hadn't opened up my mind, I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't even be doing electronic music, because I used to be a purist in a weird sort of way. I mean, it feels strange talking about it now, but when people used to say electronic music, I would just be like, oh, that doom, 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 which it kind of is. Yeah. But it's also so much more than that. So I think if the moment people take that jump, it's like, there's all the possibilities that you could ever want and you could ever hope for. Maybe like
we won't go on about K-pop the whole time. So maybe like the final lesson, I really liked how you said it about like opening your mind, because what I found before, like my friend introduced me to like Korean culture and K-pop and K-dramas, like I was feeling like kind of stagnant with the stuff I was listening to and the stuff that I was like consuming, you know, and to consume something from another culture, from a different perspective, totally different, in a different language, it really was refreshing. Like it was like they tell stories differently, they write differently, the production, like, you know, it borrows a lot from like Western music production, but there's also so much to learn there. The productions are so clean, like from a strictly music perspective, but like getting into stuff from another culture, and for me, K-pop, K-dramas, Korean culture has been so refreshing. And it's like exactly what you said. Everything, no matter what, like it's easy to write things off as like, oh, that's like, you know, that's just part of the music industrial complex or whatever. And, you know, I think music school does a lot. Music school culture like kind of bashes the current music industry a lot, I feel. And it's easy to get caught up in that. But if you just like kind of push that to the side and realize like you can learn something from everything, regardless of like how highly regarded art it is, you'll grow a lot faster because you can take something from everything. That's how I'll put it. I like that. I think we may have to like get that as the slogan for you can take something from everything. I'm going to keep that from you, I think. But also, sorry, everyone. Today I'm doing a little bit less good on the comments because there are so many coming in. But thank you for everyone who's sharing stuff. Enigmatic Onion said some very kind words. They mentioned that we're their two favorites. Thank you. No, we love everyone here on 343 TV, but really appreciate the support. And what else? Diego, like Produce 101. That's an example of a reality show which where a lot of people would kind of compete to be in like that K-pop industry too. Monist Impulse. Opinion. Pop music is pop music. There's so much depth to music that it's a shame if someone doesn't make it past pop music, but there's a time and place for cheesy fun stuff. I think this also kind of applies in the reverse direction. Like it's, you know, esoteric music or what some people think is true art is good. But again, there's only so much depth to it. And there's so much to learn from just, like we've said, opening the mind and listening to other things. There's actually, maybe this is also tying things into Ableton stuff, but they have an excellent book by Dennis DeSantis that is called Making Music, Creative Strategies. You are pulling it from your shelf. Yeah! The book. I have it as well in my room. But yeah, it's a wonderful book, and there's a great chapter on listening to things, listening to things that you don't like. And why that's powerful, and being able to kind of overcome your own immediate prejudices. And I think an important thing to do as well is to ask yourself why you're feeling that way. Like, what's holding you back? If it's, for example, is it because you don't understand? Like, if it's in a different language, if you're listening to like, I don't know, maybe Japanese rock or something, you don't understand Japanese, is that what's holding you back? Or is it maybe because you visually don't like the way this person looks? Is that what is
like the barrier to the music, and you know, it could be all of these different things, and as much as like, you know, I love a good Autechre track or something, I also love a really good KDA track, which is a virtual, you know, stuff that we get nowadays.
And like music is all about emotional connection too. Like that's why I don't know. I'm super into like pop music. Like I'm super into like pop music, rock music, any music that can like emotionally move me somehow, or like make me feel good or make me feel something. And for people, that's different. Like an emotional connection is different for everybody. And also maybe some people don't value emotional connection that much. Maybe they value technique and, you know, technicality a bit more. And for some folks, that's why listening to esoteric, like more academic music is a little more enjoyable. But to what you said about listening to music you don't like, even in like doing my channel and creating my own music, in creating my own videos, consuming things that you don't like helps you understand better what you do like. If you can say, well, if you can point to something and say, well, that's not me as an artist. So if that's not me, I must be over here. And it helps you, like, it at least gives you a direction not to go. Say like, oh, I don't actually like that. I can go, let me go in a different direction, trying to discover what I do like. But sometimes if you're having trouble understanding who you are as an artist and what represents you, your essence as an artist, figuring out like what you are definitely not is a good starting point.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's something that maybe also just speaks more broadly to the world in general. It's like, you know, with people and with all of these other things. And maybe it also just kind of extends to the idea of being an artist. Like we kind of use that term a little bit more like, I guess more, I don't know if loosely is the right word, but it can mean so many things, right? Like an artist could be a visual artist, or could be like a producer, or could even be someone who, like, you know, creates installations or whatever that might be.
If you make stuff, that's how I kind of define it.
That's actually really good. So that also kind of brings me to my next question that I wanted to ask you. But like, is because you wear so many hats, is there maybe a specific vision that you have for TAETRO the artist in the next couple of months, or in the short term or the longer term too?
It's so hard. I don't know. The same way that you separate your creative identity with the names, like dolltr versus Claire, I have that same struggle. And it's a little bit different too, because TAETRO is actually my name, like my last name.
Right.
So they're kind of tied together. And I don't know for sure if TAETRO is just like a musical artist, you know? I think it's easy, like in the days of social media, to really like hone your brand and make a niche brand. And like TAETRO is all about music production and reviewing MIDI keyboards. But my aspirations for myself are, you know, beyond just that. Like I said before, like with my definition of an artist, people who make stuff, like I like making things. So if I one day want to make like a video, or if I one day want to make music, they're separate from the two. Or if I want to write, I feel like my artist identity as TAETRO will evolve beyond just like music and music production. And that is very hard in the day of social media, like I said, because of brand and niche and things like that. But I have bigger aspirations than this. So I think amassing this audience, this community that maybe likes my work and will evolve with me, I think that is the ultimate long-term goal, like really long-term. You know, but I think that's the only way that I can stay sane and like survive as an artist mentally, because I don't want to do the same thing for the next even like 6 months to a year. I want to constantly be evolving and constantly making new stuff. And folks who have followed me for a while know that I have evolved and started doing new things and different things. And that will just be a constant evolution. So I guess it's like, I just like creating stuff. That's the North Star. And I'm going to keep moving in that direction.
That's so awesome to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's also a difficult question. So sorry for throwing you under the bus of that. But it kind of also maybe makes me think a lot about, what you said about growth, and maybe also dealing with audiences. I don't know about if you've encountered this yet. Maybe you have, and maybe that's why I'm asking this. But in some of my work that I've done, or in some of the music that I've done, people have commented before, like, "Oh, I wish you would go back to making like your older stuff, or making this in a certain genre or a certain style." And I don't know. Sometimes I think about, well, I'm actually growing as an artist. So I'm not sure if I want to go back to that. Have you encountered like any similar situations?
Yeah, a little bit. there's definitely folks, because I've had my channel for a while now, like 4 years or whatever, and the content's very different. In a lot of ways, there are some common threads that follow it through, but some folks still ask for like the older stuff, but sometimes also just like in general, what my audience wants. Like, if I look at my like analytics and my top videos and things like that, I notice a trend, and it's that if I'm using the Akai and PK Mini, like a video does like really well, because I imagine a lot of people found my channel through a video about the Akai and PK Mini, bought one for themselves, and are now following me to like better their skills with it, and that's cool. But like like I have a ton of other gear that I also like to use. So in some ways, it's a balancing act. Like I don't want that to dictate the tools that I use. I don't want the analytics and the attention to dictate the tools that I use, but I can also leverage that to bring attention to something else. So say if I want to write a track, or if I want to release a track, and I just happen to do a video with the Akai PK Mini in creating that track, or like performing that track, it will draw attention to the work, because that people were drawn in from that familiar thing, that familiar tool. So in some ways I can use it to my advantage. In other ways, it's a little bit burdensome, because maybe I just want to like write a song or something, and it doesn't actually fit like the brand of my channel, like reviewing MIDI keyboards and making beats. But maybe that's what I want to do. So that's a balancing act too, is like, it's the Venn diagram of like stuff I want to do and stuff I enjoy, stuff the audience wants to see, and then like finding a sweet spot in the middle. But sometimes it's going all the way over to the right and just doing something that I want to do. And sometimes it's going all the way to the left, doing something the audience wants to do. And that sweet spot in the middle is where, content will be most successful from a number standpoint and from like a happiness standpoint, which I think is important.
That it is. And I think like the last thing that we kind of want to do is make ourselves unhappy artists. I think that would be like a very strange situation to be in. But no, thank you for sharing that. And also, everyone, I'm checking the time now. We only have a couple more minutes. So if you do have specific questions for TAETRO, please leave them in the chat. And I'll also take this moment to kind of remind everybody that we have a giveaway. So please check out the link in the chat above. Thomas from 343 Labs put a link above. We have a $200 Ableton voucher to give away this week. So if you tune into the other streams, you'll be able to find some of that too. Oh my goodness, we finally have Abe in the chat.
Oh,
Mr. Abe
watch
TK.
out.
Oh God.
The man, the myth, the legend.
It's Abe. Yay. Thanks for tuning in, Abe. Really appreciate it. Abe is another one of our amazing instructors at 343, everyone. He hosts one of the other shows that we have on the channel. So if you want to tune in to see Abe shed some of his amazing wisdom, please subscribe. And if you want to see more of us too, please subscribe as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and Abe
here.
is like a genius, and his show on Fridays is production basics. So he's not only like, he's got all this knowledge and all this wisdom, but he like breaks it down in really accessible ways. I think that's what's cool about Abe's show. And it's like Abe's show is like one of the funnest shows on 343 TV, I think, because he's super conversational. It's like a party going to his stream,
Yeah, totally. It's a party for people who like really want to have their questions answered about beginning for production, especially, which has come up in I think most of our other streams too, not just pertaining to like Abe specific shows. So for everyone who's watching now who wants to, get more info about getting your ideas together, tune into Abe's show and you'll be able to find out more. And then you have a show too tomorrow.
And you're going to be on my show tomorrow? Is that true?
Yes, maybe. We'll see.
Back to back. We'll see.
Totally. No, that'll be fun. But yeah, everyone subscribe to us.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you, like, your approach to Beattober was different than mine. See, I felt like your approach was way harder because you covered a song every single day. And I feel like I can make stuff up. Like every day I could make up some music. Like I could just make it up because it doesn't exist. So there's no rules. I'll just make it. You had to like learn the song, but you didn't just like straight up cover the songs. You also like did your own spin on them. Like, how was that? Like, what was your workflow like? I'm super curious to hear.
Yeah, maybe I'll speak more about this like tomorrow too. But in general, it was so stressful. It was.
Yeah.
I really think I shot myself in the foot, but my foot's healed right now, so that's fine. And I think it was good for me because I think one thing that I've tried to use a lot of these challenges for is to truly be a challenge. And this is something I did for January as well. Like traditionally, January is also a movement, for lack of a better term, that also encourages people to make something new every day. But for me, I had already I was already really good at like improvising and just creating stuff like that. Maybe just because
Yeah.
I'd done a lot of stuff on behalf of Ableton, for example, when I'm doing educational things. It's like you got to make things on the spot. So I was really used to that already. And for Beattober, since the name is like Beattober, I was thinking to myself, okay, I still want to do something that maybe would be creation or beat making related, but I'm good at making things up immediately. So to make the challenge even more of a challenge, like you mentioned, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just have material that I have to use. And for me, that was like covering a tune to really make it like super challenging.
Super challenging. Yeah, like I applaud you for that. Like
Thank
that's
you.
crazy. I was watching you do that every day. I was like, there's no way. Like I don't know.
Like people actually think like someone once commented and they were like, wait, wouldn't actually be making like a cover be easier because the material is there? But if you're reworking that material, that's I think the challenging part. So I wanted to like train myself to get a little bit better at that.
Also,
So,
also there's something to compare it to. Like with a cover, like people can say like compare it to the original or compare it to other covers even with like if you just make a beat on your own, it's like it's just me. Like what are you going to compare it to, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I think we actually do have a couple of questions, Mr. TAETRO. And let's see.
People say Mr. TAETRO, and I don't know where that came from, but you're not the only person who says that.
Oh,
so I don't know.
I actually read it from the chat. So that's why.
Oh, where is that come?
I'm not sure if the person who used that, let us know where Mr. TAETRO came from. I read that in the chat. So maybe just a couple of quick ones because we are running out a little bit of time. But let's see. Okay, cool. This one's a pretty interesting one. How do you think writing for Spotify or streaming has affected music? Like getting your choruses short, like early in songs.
It's interesting. I have always had a short attention span. I wouldn't say that I necessarily do this, because Spotify is not part of like my current like big plan right now. I'm still really focusing on the social platforms, but it's the same concept because like even with Beattober, it's like make a minute-long video. Like, okay, so I'm essentially writing minute-long tracks, which is different than what people are used to listening to, but not on those platforms. It's very specific to that platform. So how does it affected me? Like I have always had a short attention span. So I'm always about like, okay, 4 bars, something new, 4 bars, something new, change the arrangement of the track so that it's exciting and things keep happening. So if anything, like formatting for that Instagram specifically or like social media specifically has absolutely influenced my, like approach to making music and the way I try to keep things exciting and keep it engaging. But I've always been the type of person with a short attention span and I don't like big drawn out things that much. So it kind of fits my own preference, but not everybody has that preference,
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. So I think we have time for one more. Let's just do this one. General question. With respect to performances, which elements do you tend to improvise and which remain set by an advanced plan? For example, is it the arrangement or maybe sound design parameters or melodies?
Yeah, that's tough. Depends on the situation. Sound design parameters, effects, and all that stuff. Like I love improvising with those things for sure. I use a lot of beat repeats, a lot of filters, a lot of whatever, like things to get me basically from point A to point B and have some fun without actually playing notes or playing any instruments. I love improvising that way. I also like improvising like with a keyboard, like typically, but usually with tracks, like I have very specific melodies and like beats and whatever in mind. So that is all usually pretty pre-planned, as well as the arrangement, because I do want to keep things fresh. I do want to keep things exciting. So that takes a little bit of planning to like, okay, like we're going to move from here to here to here. And that's how we're going to keep things interesting and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of my melodies, beats, overall structure is pre-planned. And then I'll improvise maybe with 1 or 2 solo instruments that can be different every time. And then definitely some like performance effects that are improvised with over time.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? I would actually love to continue this like tomorrow.
Yes, we have so much
together.
to talk about.
Yeah,
Chat should let us
totally.
know if they would want to watch us have another conversation tomorrow. Let us know, chat.
Please let us know. And if you do have specific questions, maybe we can also chat about them tomorrow. Thank you everyone who shared your questions with us today. Thank you so much to TAETRO for coming here on not the usual Tuesday, but the Monday. This has been really exciting, everyone. Thank you all. As a reminder, please go ahead and enter the giveaway. The giveaway is from 343 Labs, which is us. We are a school that's based in New York and Berlin and the greater internet. At the moment, you can check out our website, which is 343labs.com, and also 343labs.de if you want to check out all of our class offerings. We've got things like Ableton Live. We've got the wonderful Abe teaching that, as well as a couple of other things related to mixing, mastering, sound design, all the good stuff that you might want to learn. We've also got, of course, daily streaming here on 343 TV. So make sure that you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to be notified for whenever we go live next. But yes, please, everyone in the chat, give us some last applauses for the very amazing TAETRO. Thank you so much for being here, Nick. Really appreciate it.
And for Claire.
Yeah.
Round of applause in the
thank you.
chat.
And yeah, we hope to see all of you tomorrow. This is funny. You'll see our design call-in show. Tune in tomorrow thing.
Why does it say design call-in show? I have to talk to Thomas about that.
Oh, really? Was it not supposed to say that?
No, I don't know why it says that, but we'll fix that. We'll fix that before tomorrow.
We can talk
Set
about
your
design
reminder.
tomorrow. We can talk about live experience design or
Yeah, sure. Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah,
this was great. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Peace.
Exactly where I belong. exactly where